Good evening, everyone. It's Kinninigan. Hold on. Where's my internet browser? Oh, there it is. There it is. It was on my other monitor. Um, Shadow Files, one of my subs, left me a comment. I heard Marco Polo also saw live dragons in Asia. The elite would use dragons as horses to drive chariots back when dragons were still around. Now, what he means by Marco Polo also saw dragons is because I told people I'm doing a lecture on the cynocephali, the dogmen, and ancient history. That's going to be a pretty in-depth video. I'm not doing it right now. I'm still putting that. We had a 2 day heat wave here in Philadelphia. It was brutal. The humidity went up high. It felt like almost 100 degrees. Yeah, it's only April. It finally cooled down a little bit today. So yeah, please share, like, subscribe. It's Friday. If you want to support my channel, I don't monetize my videos. I myself would like to summon Puff the Magic Dragon today. It is Friday. Um, I'm actually playing an RPG game where my next quest I have to go fight a dragon. Not kidding. I've been One of my subs donated a bought me a game on Steam for Christmas. Metaphor Fantasio. It's a Japanese RPG, and I've been playing that. So yeah. Anyway, there's dragons in that game. Of course there is. Because now, for a little context here, everyone listening to this video has saw a dragon in real life, and technically, dragon, yes, it is a reference to the Alpha Draconian star system, Draco. Um, we're not talking about reptilians. We're not talking about Alpha Draconian reptilians as being quote unquote dragons. We are actually talking about real animals that were encountered in ancient history, and I have the accounts pulled up, and I have my reading glasses, and yes, I'm going to read. I think I can read. But if you did not know, there's a little context I want to give to you before. Now, we are going to read accounts from Alexander the Great and Marco Polo. I left them a comment. Alexander the Great and Marco Polo both recorded dragons. I'll make a video about their accounts. And here's the video. So, like I said, leave me comments. I read them. I go through and I heart them all. And if there's anything, a few other people sent me emails. There's been some anomalies. That's all I'm going to say. I have those emails. Don't worry. Cover them also. I'm just like trying to get some content out here. It finally cooled down a little bit in Philadelphia. Me and the cats made it. Yeah, 2 days of brutal heat because it's only April. It shouldn't be this hot. And then in a few days, it's going back down to freezing again at nighttime. Yeah. So anyone on the East Coast that's going through this heat wave with the humidity, yeah. So anyway, yes, you have seen dragons, and I'm not being funny about this. I'm going to give you some context to this. This is a dragon. This is known as a bearded dragon. You can actually keep it as a pet. Probably keep your house insect free. A lot of people keep them as pets. Yeah, it's a bearded dragon. And we also have this, the Komodo dragon. The word dinosaur was not invented until I believe the 1870s. So anything that was very large and serpentine would have just been, they were called, roughly, you could say dragon, but Marco Polo didn't speak English. Alexander the Great obviously spoke Greek. Would have had a different word to describe. Probably didn't use. In fact, the Greek word for dragon is Draco. Drako. I'm not saying I'm wrong because I actually made a video about ancient Greek dragon houses. Yeah, that video is probably on my channel. Then they were called Draco Spita, dragon house, Spito being house. Yeah, my ancient Greeks. So yes, we do have ancient accounts of them. And what they probably more than likely were relic dinosaurs, which are even said to be encountered even up till modern times. We had such things as the thunderbird. Birds are basically evolved dinosaurs. Um, we also have accounts of raptor-like creatures throughout deserts all around the world. that have been recorded. Like not as big as like velociraptors from Jurassic Park, but smaller, like 3, 4 feet tall. But they're still raptors, lizard-like raptors. Then we have obviously the Komodo dragon. This thing is a dinosaur. I don't know what to tell you. This thing, you don't get more dinosaur-like than the Komodo dragon. They got their own island. Yeah, Komodo Island. Um, and then in the Congo, we obviously, and with the Loch Ness monster, you have the plesiosaurs, I believe, is what they're called. Yeah, so that's a little context before I actually read these articles about what they possibly saw. Um, yeah, ancient history gets pretty fun. So anyway, please share, like, subscribe. If you can support the channel, again, all the links are in the description. I just tell people, yeah, I'm not even joking. I'm trying to raise about $33. I had to take 2 days off because of the heat. So you want to buy me some ice cream, whatever. What time is it? It's almost 4:20. 20 more minutes. So, I'll pin this article as the top comment, like I normally do. Okay, my reading glasses actually work. I can see. I'm going to increase the text just in case you're on the phone. But these are all the people who have encountered said dragons. Yeah. Dragons were recorded by ancient secular writers such as Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, Josephus, Gaius Solinus, Herodotus, St. George, Ulysses, Henry VIII. Interesting, because Henry VIII, I'm pretty sure, was a reptilian. So, a real Draco. Yeah, he's a real deal. Different type of dragon, okay? Flavius, St. John of Damascus, and many others. These military leaders and historians are considered as historically accurate and highly reliable. How could these highly respected ancient historians, yeah, they made a typo there, have recorded details of dragons with such accuracy thousands of years before paleontology was even imagined? Why are their writings considered as historical fact except the parts that contain the mythical quote unquote dragons? It ain't just dragons, okay? Because when I make this video about the dogmen and the cynocephali, we have scrolls from ancient Rome that were the equivalent of modern day text messages between rich Roman elite gossiping to each other about cynocephaly dog people being brought into the capital of Rome and how barbaric they are. I believe they were actually brought into the capital for Colosseum fights. Yeah, so it gets strange. And those are historical documents from ancient Rome. But they just, oh, these people, they were probably drunk on wine when they wrote these, whatever. Yeah, same thing. Um, anyway, it gets strange, right? So, dragons were recorded by ancient secular writers such as Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, Josephus. Oh, okay. I just read that. These military leaders are. It's the same paragraph rewritten. Sorry about that. All right. With only exception being the accounts of dragons, which based on their naturalistic worldviews, such as accounts as absurd. Each historian recorded varying eyewitness accounts of dragons on their journeys and military conquests. How could ancient cultures have recorded dragons with such dinosaur-like accuracy thousands of years before paleontology was ever imagined? They need to get some editing done on this website. Yeah, they double posted the same. Alexander the Great in 330 BC. I told people I'm trying to raise $33. Illuminati, 33. Yeah, of course it's 33 BC. Why wouldn't it be? After Alexander the Great invaded India, he brought back reports of seeing great hissing dragon, a great hissing dragon. All right, well, yeah, there's quite a few typos on this website. Okay, I guess they didn't spell check it, whatever. Great hissing dragon in a cave, which people worshipped as gods. One of Alexander the Great's lieutenants, named Anacretus, stated that the Indian king Apisaurus kept serpents that were 120 and 210 feet long. Subsequent Greek rulers are said to have brought dragons back alive from Ethiopia. When Alexander threw some parts of India into a commotion that took possession of others, he encountered among many other animals a serpent which lived in a cavern and was regarded as sacred by the Indians who paid a great and superstitious reverence. There is a temple in India. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's called the Serpent Temple, and it has these locked doors on it that have never been opened, and there's two intertwining serpents on the door. I'm wondering if this is what that temple actually contained, where these quote unquote serpents or dragons from India. Yeah, the plot thickens. Accordingly, Indians went to all lengths imploring Alexander to permit no one to attack the serpent, and he assented to their wish. Now, as the army passed by the cavern and caused a noise, the serpent was aware of it. It has, the sharpest hearing and keenest sight of all animals, and it hissed and snorted so violently that all were terrified and confounded. It was reported to measure 70 cubits, although it was not visible in its length, for it only put its head out. At any rate, its eyes are said to have been the size of a large round Macedonian shield. Now, I know ancient weapons and ancient warfare. A Macedonian Greek phalanx shield is roughly about 3 feet wide. That's a big eyeball. 3 feet. Um, Trying to think of the animal that we know recorded that has the largest eyeballs. That may actually be squid, giant squid, and they have pretty big eyes. And this comes from the accounts. Yeah, he actually has the sources here, which is why I pulled this website up. Claudius on Animals book. Yeah, these are actually historical Greek records. Now we can move on to Marco Polo, who's also Marco Polo also encountered cynocephalic dogmen off the coast of India. Alexander the Great also encountered dogmen, not just dragons. So, but that'll be in the other video I do about the cynocephalia. Marco Polo, leaving the city of Yachi and traveling 10 days in a westerly direction, you reach the province of Karazhan, which is also the name of the chief city. Here are seen huge serpents, 10 paces in length, about 30 feet, and 10 spans, about 8 feet, girt of the body. At the forepart, near the head, they have two short legs, having 3 claws like those of a tiger, with eyes larger than a four-penny loaf and very glaring. Um, Let me just look this up. Karazhan, where that is exactly. Karazhan. Oh, that's from a video game. All right. No, no. Karazhan. Why am I getting Is it in India? Okay. Central Asia. Afghanistan. Interesting. It was the Khwarezmian Empire, former empire in Central Asia, which would fit, I guess, around where he was. That was probably the name of one of their cities. Okay, interesting. The jaws are wide enough to swallow a man. The teeth are large and sharp, and their whole appearance is so formidable that neither man nor any kind of animal can approach them without terror. Others are met with a smaller size, being 8, 6, or 5 paces long, and the following method is used for taking them. In the daytime, by reason of great heat, they lurk in caverns, and there's a lot of caverns in Afghanistan, from whence at night they issue to seek their food, and from whatever beast they meet, with and can lay hold of, whether tiger, wolf, or any other they devour. After which they drag themselves towards some lake, spring of water, or river in order to drink. By their motion this way along the shore and their vast weight, they make a deep impression as if a heavy beam had been drawn along the sands. Those whose employment is to hunt them observe the track by which they are most frequently accustomed to go, and fix into the ground several pieces of wood armed with sharp iron spikes, which they cover with sand in a manner as to not be perceptible. The flesh of the animal is sold at a dear rate, being thought to have a higher flavor than other kinds of meat, and by all persons it is esteemed a delicacy. That is from the travels of Marco Polo. This is also where I'm getting source material for the cynocephali. Um, they ate them. Yeah, they ate their meat. Now, this might not specifically be Afghanistan. It could be anywhere. I guess Central Asia could be the Hindu Kush Mountains around that area, though. It wasn't divided up like that in ancient times, obviously, but be around where they were. Another famous account of a dragon slaying is the story of Saint George and the dragon, which was included in Jacobus de Borgigny's Legana Aurea, or Golden Legend, a collection of saints' lives compiled around the year 1260 and translated into English and published by William Caxton in 1483. Cathedrals have been built in recognition and named after St. George in Ontario, Canada, Perth, Australia, and London, England. There are also several in the United States. These cathedrals all proudly display a painting or relics somewhere depicting the slaying of the dragon by St. George. Yeah, I was aware of this story. It's obvious medieval story. Inspiration for a lot of fantasy. Oh, why wouldn't it be, right? St. George was reported to have slain his first dragon in Africa. Later, in 1098 AD, he was said to have slain dragons at Mansfield in the center of Germany. He was also reported to have killed a dragon in Berkshire, England, and the specific location was later named Dragon Hill. Yes, there's a place in England called Dragon Hill. The dragons of legend are strangely like actual creatures that have lived in the past. They are much like the great reptiles which inhabited the earth long ago before man is supposed to have appeared on earth. Dragons were generally evil and destructive. Every country had them in its mythology. And if you know anything about reptiles in general, yeah, they're all pun intended, cold blooded. Um, a reptile will eat a human if it's big enough, period. Crocodiles, alligators are some of the bigger examples. Komodo dragons, you don't want to get bit by a Komodo dragon. It will eat you. And that's anything. Frogs are big enough they would eat us. Frogs would take over the whole planet. Bullfrogs will eat anything they can put in their mouth. Well, toads are reptiles. They're amphibians, but I think you get the idea. So yeah, and okay, they say here the article on dragons in the Encyclopedia Britannica noted that dinosaurs were astonishingly dragon-like because there wasn't a word for dinosaur until 1870. I think that's around the time they came up with the word dinosaur. Even though its author assumed that those ancients who believed in dragons did so without the slightest knowledge of dinosaurs. So, yeah, we got another article here. Fallen angels reproduced with human women. You just want me to do a video about the Nephilim? We have some pretty good theories. Not me, because I've been following other people's research on the Nephilim. I'll give you a clue. It's not one race of species, and the cynocephali might be part of it. It's multiple species. In ancient Rome, they were called the monstrous races, and Nephilim sound more and more like versions of Chimera. As strange as that sounds, but we definitely have some strange proof for it. Everything from satyrs to cyclops to centaurs to dogmen, cannibalistic giants. Also, they're yeah, but it's not just giants. It's a whole race of things that were known in ancient times, like the scrolls I was telling you about in ancient Rome that had been translated, where they're talking about these things. Um, we'll talk more about that when I do the Cynocephali video. So anyway, I'll pin this as the top comment. TGIF, want to support my channel, buy me ice cream, beer, help me summon Puff the Magic Dragon, whatever. Everything helps. I always need stuff. Yeah. So there you go. Dragon Encounters recorded by historical figures. Sounds like a good video title. Anyway, any questions or comments, leave them below. Cash App, PayPal, Vemno is all in the description, or you can sign up to my Patreon and locals. Any questions or comments, leave them below. God bless and take care.